Hello, name is Thomas and welcome to my apartment in Bangkok. In a previous video, I showed the apartment hunting process here in Bangkok. I took a look at 4 different apartments and ultimately for me it came down to apartment number 2 in Ratchathani and apartment number 4, the last apartment I looked at, which is the one I ultimately picked and the one I am in right now. Between those 2 apartments, they had a lot of the same things that I was looking for. Both of them were in newer buildings. They had gyms and co-working areas, and they had the right perks and amenities that I was looking for. Ultimately, it came down to 2 things. The first is that apartment number 2 is in an area called Ratchathani, which is much more central to Bangkok and it's much closer to the big malls. And just makes it an area that's a little more commercialized, a little more touristy, just because that general area tends to be where most tourists will stay in or spend a lot of their time in when they're in Bangkok, because that's where all the malls are and you can do a lot of shopping and eating in those malls. In that regard, I like this area better, and it's called, well, the area is not called it, but it's off of the BTS station called Phra Khanong. And Phra Khanong is just an area that's less commercialized and less touristy. Like there's certainly a lot of foreigners like myself that are living here, especially in my building. But at the same time, it's not like a tourist destination. No one's ever going to tell you to take the train to the Phra Khanong station and get off because there's like something there that you have to go see or you have to go try. So in that sense, I like that the Phra Khanong area feels more normal and down to earth, and it feels more like an area where more Thai people live, which is really what I always try to look for. I don't want to live in like the heart of like the tourist district. I'm still pretty close to that central area with all those malls, and I can easily take the train to get there pretty quickly, but I am pretty far removed away from all of that commotion. The second reason that I picked this apartment is that I like the layout of this apartment much more than the apartment in Ratchathani. And before I show you what I mean by the layout of the apartment, I just want to say that there was one really cool and interesting aspect about the apartment in Ratchathani, which stood out to me. It was that it has an elevator that opens up directly into the apartment. So the way that building is designed is you go in the elevator, you tap your key card, and then when you hit a floor, the elevator opens up into the kitchen of your apartment. I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat and definitely made me want to pick that apartment because I figured like one, that's just pretty cool, right? Like you get into your apartment directly through the elevator. And the second thing is I feel like I'm probably never going to live in an apartment that has that feature. But in reality, I think it's just a cool gimmick, but not really something that I should base my decision on where to live ultimately based on just that one cool feature. All right, so let me show you the rest of this apartment and what I mean when I say that I like the layout of this apartment better than the apartment in Ratchathani, and ultimately I think that's what really swung things in favor of this apartment. All right, so let me actually get back out to the front of the apartment and we will start there. So this is where you come into the apartment, and here we go. When you come into the apartment, you have the living room area here. It's actually a really spacious living room. You have the TV there. I brought my own Nintendo Switch to hook up to the TV. You have pretty nice sized bathroom, a shower, nothing crazy here. You have bedroom, pretty spacious, has really good light, and then plenty of closet space, which I don't really fully use. And then there is a separate little workstation area with a real desk and a chair, light right above it. So I really like this part of the apartment. I felt like this was a place that was comfortable enough for me to do some work here, and I definitely do spend a good amount of time here in this little workstation area. And then finally we have the kitchen, which is attached to the balcony where the washing machine is, and then you can hang dry your clothes. So why did I like this apartment's layout? Well, most apartments in Bangkok, or at least 3 of the apartments that I saw, had the same layout, which was that when you came in, this area was the kitchen, and then where the kitchen is instead the living room. So they would have a couch right here where the dining table is. They would have TV up against this wall. The balcony would be in the same spot at the end of the apartment. And then on the right side of the apartment, you would have the bedroom area. And then typically they had the bathroom that would be attached to the bedroom, and you would have to walk through. You would have to get into the bathroom through the bedroom. So that seemed to be like a very popular layout for apartments in Bangkok. And I think there's 2 issues with that. The first is that the apartments that had the couch set up here, many of them didn't actually have a wall that divided the living room area from the bedroom. So they just had like a curtain. And when they have a curtain, that technically makes the apartment a studio. And at this point in my life, I don't want to live in a studio apartment, especially when the studio apartments aren't necessarily like much cheaper or any cheaper. So the apartment in Ratchathani was technically a studio apartment. It had that layout where you had a couch right here, living room area, no wall, just a curtain, and then the bedroom area. So that was technically a studio, and I don't want to live in a studio, and I just didn't like that layout. The second reason why I like the layout of this apartment is because the bathroom is not directly connected to the bedroom. So you don't have to, if you had guests over, they don't have to go through your bedroom in order to get to the bathroom. And also, I just don't really like the idea of my bathroom being directly connected to the place where I sleep. Clearly, people are doing certain things in the bathroom, and I just feel like it's more hygienic when your bathroom is not connected to your bedroom. So that's just a personal preference for me. Last thing I'll mention that I think they really did a good job of when they designed this apartment is that they added this glass door in between the kitchen and the living room area. So there's a glass door that separates the balcony from the kitchen, and then a second glass door they added to separate the kitchen from the living room area. And this setup just helps to keep out, acts as like an extra buffer, can keep out more of the noise. I don't know if you guys can tell, it's actually a little quieter after I close this door, and also helps to buffer and keep out some of the heat as well. Although there's definitely a shade that I leave up just because I like to let in the light. But I really liked this feature because they really didn't need to spend the money to put a second set of glass doors here, but they did. And it's honestly pretty nice, pretty useful feature. And yeah, overall, I just really like the layout of this apartment the best out of the 4 apartments that I saw. I just think that the way everything was arranged was really smart. And yeah, I'm really happy with this apartment. I like the area it's in. It's pretty close to pretty much anything I need, like bars. Well, not bars, like restaurants and cafes. I don't really drink. There's also a supermarket that's also within basically walking distance that I walk to off of the On Newt stop. And yeah, I just really like the area. I like the building, I like the apartment. It was within my price range, so yeah, no regrets here. And that's how I ended up picking this apartment. And yeah, that's all I got for you today. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. And until then, take care of yourself. And if you can, someone else too.